Welcome to the next episode of Spilling the Tea in Studio D. Very privileged to be on the campus of the Poyen Indians today. Candace, let's see, you have any past dealings with Poyen at all? I mean,
no. I mean, you know, I'm a Malvern Leopard.
Okay, just right up the road.
So maybe a little. We're not too far from here.
When I coached at Jesseville, I was assistant baseball coach. I remember coming over here and playing some basketball, that kind of stuff. So, but enough about us, right? That's not why we're here today. We're here to talk with Miss Autumn Henry.
Yes.
And pretty neat experience that you've had. But before we get too deep into that, why don't we just start with maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and then what pulled you into education.
Sure. I'm actually from Poyen,
Oh, wow.
and this is my 8th year teaching science. And I learned real quick I'm a life science teacher. I absolutely love it. But being from here, went to college, moved off. My husband and I spent about 15 years away. He was being military and active duty, so we did that for a while. And then I can remember when my son was 5, he had lived in 5 different homes.
Oh, wow.
And I said, you know what? I don't know about this. I don't know about this. So we decided, you know what? Let's go back to Poyen. We love the small town atmosphere. We love the community feeling. And we liked knowing that everybody kind of did know everybody. And that was a big draw for us to get back here.
Right.
But I wasn't teaching at the moment.
Yeah.
And I've always been told you should have been a teacher. Because I actually started out in the business world.
Right.
And I said, you know what, God, I'm listening. And I'm going to go for it. And I went for it and reached out to actually Miss Weta Newton, who was my former math teacher. And I said, okay, here's what I'm thinking. You know, kind of help tell me where to start.
Yeah.
Right.
And she said, well, you can't go wrong with science. I said, perfect. I love science.
Right.
And honestly, it started from there.
Yeah.
And ended up going back to school to get my master's of art and teaching,
Right.
which allowed me to get back in the
Awesome.
classroom.
And back at your hometown. That's so
Yes,
awesome.
absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah, I'd have to say Weta's one of my all-time favorites. Shout out Weta, because
Yes.
I mean, not only was she Teacher of the Year for the state of Arkansas, but also served on the State Board of Education. And I'm kind of sad she's not on there because I mean, the one thing you can't doubt about Miss Newton is the fact that she has a heart and passion for kids.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that's not always the case when you get to that level of educational bureaucracy, I'll say. But I always felt like she kept everybody in check.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
So, you know, she's great. Now, anybody that can live with Jerry Newton as long as she has, I mean, that's a miracle worker within itself. Jerry, again, a great education guy. I always loved him too. So,
And you were saying you were here and with some of your former coaches.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because Mr. Newton was actually the superintendent here
Wow.
when I was in school.
Gotcha.
And so some of the same, it's just really a blessing, honestly, to come back and get to work with fellows and several different ladies that were actually my mentors growing up, and now I get to work alongside them. And honestly, I've had a lot of aha moments of, wow, like I'm getting to learn from them.
And it's probably been kind of cool for you too to see, the campus and how it's grown and improved and.
I mean, when I was here, we never thought we'd have an arena to the scale that we have right now. It is so impressive to walk into our arena.
Right.
And I mean, football wasn't even a thing.
Sure.
I mean, we were lucky to have a softball team.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and so it's definitely grown a tremendous amount.
Okay. Well, that's the thing about this school district. I mean, to me, I always feel like it's one of those hidden gems, in that it's I wouldn't say in the middle of nowhere, but you got to go there to get here, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
And what I would say about that, the reputation of the district, people are they do that. I mean, they find a way to get here because,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like you said, I think it has to do with the community. And I also think it has to do with the opportunity, some of the smaller schools and some of the things that you guys offer and the attention at a smaller school that you don't get at some of the larger ones. So.
For sure. I mean, the class sizes, the most I have is usually ranging around the 28 to 30.
Yeah.
But then on the smaller scale, I may have 14
Sure.
right now in one of my 8th grade classes.
Right.
But it's just that one-on-one connection.
Yeah, but don't you feel like, though, 14 8th graders is like having 40 normal students? Right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I would agree with that for sure.
You know,
So are you 7 through 12?
Yeah.
Yes, I am 7 through 12 life science. But I tell you what, you want some honesty? Dusty?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
8th grade's where it's at.
But and that's what I used to tell people, because I've spent the majority of my time teaching and or administration in the middle levels. But 8th grade is that grade where, man, they don't care about anything, do they? Like,
No, and they don't think about anything.
No,
like,
don't ask them
they
because they
never
won't tell
think
you.
It's
before they
comical.
act. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
constantly
Yeah.
comical.
I had when I started teaching at Lakeside, I had 8th and 9th graders, and this the huge difference.
Yeah.
Because I had taught 3 years at Malvern High School, and my friend was like, "Look, you're going to hate it the first semester."
Yeah.
And so first semester, I'm like, what the heck have I done?
Yes.
Like, what the heck have I done?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
but then it's like they grow
yeah.
on you.
Yeah,
and
they
you
chill
love
out.
it. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's high and low.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so cool, but yet, I mean, they're still vulnerable
Yes.
and you get the feelings hurt, that kind of
Yes.
stuff. So is acts still a thing as far as getting out of
Listen,
PE? I mean,
listen.
the
You know,
contact high from that
Oh,
is
yes.
just tremendous.
In fact, I have a rule for my classroom. No one puts body spray on in the classroom.
Awesome.
In fact, there's been times where I've encouraged them,
Yeah.
why don't you go in the hallway and y'all can
Yeah.
share the body spray?
Yeah.
And they
Air it
come back
out,
in.
Oh, yeah.
and then come back in.
And
Yeah.
one year I had them right after athletics. And
Oh, yeah?
I
Oh,
mean, like I
God.
said, the contact high itself would get you loopy in there.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
finally, we had to say, look, kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Hey, let's limit this stuff because it's.
Hey, you know what I call it though? Because like I go from 8th grade science to advanced VEX robotics class.
Oh, wow.
And that's my upperclassmen.
Sure.
And so they'll come in, they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, Miss Henry, your room," and I go, "It's the scent of the day.
Yeah,
I'm
that's right.
gifting you the scent."
Exactly.
And then you look at them and say, "And you were just like that."
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I remember when you were that age.
Exactly.
Anyway, it's fun.
Well, understand you had an incredible opportunity.
Oh my gosh.
To-
In fact, I feel like there are times where I still can't believe I got to experience it.
Right.
And so just for anyone that doesn't know, like we got to anybody from the state of Arkansas got to apply to go and work at NASA.
Okay, wait, let me
Yep.
stop right there.
Okay.
Candace not sure what NASA
No.
stands for.
We had this
Can you help her
conversation,
out?
and they were like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, you should have put him on the spot because
Yeah.
he had no idea what NASA
Yeah, that's
stood
not
for."
true.
And Michael knew what NASA stood for. Of course, I'm googling it.
Yeah.
But we couldn't. We're like, "You could have saved it. Put
Yeah.
him on the spot."
Candace thought it had to do with NASCAR.
No.
But,
No, you
We
didn't.
called it-
No, you didn't.
oh, yeah, she did. Yeah, she did.
Okay.
Listen,
Yeah.
honestly,
Oh, okay, we're safe.
Hey.
not believe a word that comes out of
Can I
his
get an
mouth.
amen from the choir loft? See?
Stop.
They know for
That
sure.
it's because you're the boss, and they're
no,
going
that's
to
not
agree.
True. That's not true.
Valid point.
So,
See?
that's
Yeah.
not true. So, anyway.
But
Okay, yeah, go
what
ahead.
it was is
Jeff Gordon is not at NASA.
Yeah.
no, he's not. No.
Okay.
But anywho, what it was is it was just I was on a blanket email sent out to tons of science teachers across the state of Arkansas, and it was just a random email, and I sat on it for a little bit, and I was like, man, this would be awesome. Oh my gosh, a chance to go to NASA with other teachers from all over the United States.
Right.
So I thought about it, and what was so hesitant is I had to make an introduction video of 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? So I spelled out the word STEM. So I looked at science, technology, engineering, math. And so in each video, I was in different areas at school. And let me just tell you, it was cheesy. I mean, it was so cheesy. But I mean,
hey, you got.
I did.
I'm sure it
You got
stood
the
out.
area?
It did, clearly. And so the lady at CSR, and she reached out to me and said, the Arkansas Space Grant Consortium has offered to pay for your way.
Wow.
And she's out of Austin with the University of Texas.
Wow.
And I was just like pinched me like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm really for sure what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
Come to find out, it was myself and one other Dawson specialist out of Fort Smith. We were the only two from Arkansas that were chosen to go, and when I say all expenses paid, they paid for everything.
Wow.
I mean,
that's so cool.
I mean, our flights, hotels, the meals, I mean, it was phenomenal.
So how long were you there?
So I got there on a Sunday, and let me tell you, we hit the floor running on a Sunday afternoon, and we did not stop until Saturday morning at the airport.
Wow.
We had an intense schedule the entire week
Wow.
of not only all of these different things that were connected to NASA, but actually within NASA. And so, in fact, I know this is cheesy, but I sent this, let's see here, I sent this picture to some family, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm here. I'm
You're like,
here.
I'm
here.
I'm working.
I have
on
a
that.
visit,
Yeah,
like
that's
it
awesome.
says NASA.
That is so
Yeah.
cool.
Right.
But so we got to tour a lot of behind the scenes places. We got to meet all kinds of different astronauts, and I'll never forget, we were at what was called the JBL, which is the Buoyancy Center, where the astronauts are working underwater.
Oh, wow.
And it was bigger than a football field, but we were kind of elevated, so we got to watch them underneath. But I'll never forget, they told us, they were like, don't talk to the astronauts. And we're like, wait, there's astronauts here working? I mean, it was just kind of one of those weird, and they just wanted us to be respectful that they're training, you know.
Right.
And so we got to actually watch them with scuba divers working underwater as if they're working on a simulated space mission of some sort.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so cool.
But we did everything from I got to touch the moon. I mean, I kind of, had to be cheesy.
Right.
Like they literally had a sample of the moon, and I was like, oh, I got to touch it. So, just to be able to say that, I mean, oh my gosh.
And then just to be able to bring that back to your kids and everything.
I mean, all the kids were just engulfed with, what did you do? One of the things that we got to do is we were certified to bring back moon samples.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a pretty big deal to go through the whole process. So if I ever chose to do that, that's something that different teachers, could have access to. But we got to meet Fred Hayes, who was one of the astronauts on Apollo 13. And thought, he gave us our book, and we got to sit down and visit with him just like we are. Just sitting here having a chit-chat. And just the fact that he was there, that was cool to me. A little overwhelming. But we got to see all types of museums. I went behind the scenes to see exactly them working on different elements. I'll never forget this one part where they were like, hey, you can't take pictures in here of anything behind closed doors. And people were in simulated suits, working on rock samples. And that's actually, this I thought was pretty cool. I'll show you this too. But how they'll put the rock samples in here that are brought back from different expeditions.
Oh, wow.
And actually work on them and go through them. And it's like everything's pressure sealed and vacuum sealed, so you can't get any exposure to anything. But it was impressive. It was impressive. And, just to kind of top it off too, think about all the other teachers I got to meet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So how many folks were in the group?
There was 50 this time around.
Wow.
Approximately 30 were from the state of Texas, because this was put on by Texas. And then they reached out to the other demographic in the area and said, okay, who's from the other states? But, we had literally teachers from Puerto Rico up to Wyoming. There was one from Oregon. Just all over.
That's awesome.
That's
well,
cool.
and just think when you come back, you may inspire one of your kids to be like, hey, I want to go work at NASA.
Well,
yes.
And here's what's going on right now. I've got 2 kids applying to be an intern at NASA this summer.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
And so they're just highly advanced science kids. And I'm like, I think you should apply. And
that's
working on it.
God has a way of working that stuff out.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
So how many astronauts are in training at any one given time? Did they?
They did not necessarily say how many were there, but I do know that there's several working all at once, but you don't necessarily know on the spot who's doing what. That kind of stuff was a little bit kept private, because there was a lot of stuff we couldn't touch.
Right.
But I will say, though, in one of the rooms that we were in when we were overlooking the JBL and they were working, it was a whole robotics station. Well, being a VEX robotics teacher, I had to go over there and look at it and couldn't touch stuff. But
to watch it.
Yes, the mechanics of it, of what they were controlling, and it was impressive. But as far as numbers, and we couldn't take pictures of people's faces.
Right.
But I tell you, one of the coolest things I did get to see, you talk about astronauts, and I took it for my teacher here who does the sewing classes. Y'all, they were astronauts literally sewing bags.
Oh, wow.
To go up on a spacecraft to go to the space station. It was I don't know, you just don't think about an astronaut sewing.
Yeah.
So, anyhow.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I guess, in my simple mind, when I think astronauts are only training one group at a time, but obviously they're preparing lots of things.
Yes.
That's just so cool.
There was one woman there, she was actually, not only as she worked for NASA, but she was a fit instructor. And you're thinking, okay, what's the big deal about that?
Right.
They actually train her to run on a treadmill to monitor body heat within a suit.
Wow.
That was her job.
Yeah.
I just found, I don't know. I'm just thinking, hey, can I,
Yeah.
I'll run on a treadmill for NASA.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
That'd probably be a job, the only job you could do at NASA.
I don't know.
I would,
Hey, now,
know if I
Candace,
could-
I got more faith in that in you.
I don't know.
So-
I don't know.
He likes to aggravate.
Hey, I'm pushing it though, because that would require exercise. And
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Listen,
so-
well, this is chasing a rabbit, but I told my husband last night because I try to exercise every night
Sure.
to keep my blood pressure down.
Yeah.
So I try to do the elliptical. Well, when I do the elliptical every day nonstop, then my hip starts bothering me. So I'm like, last night I'm like, I've got a dilemma. Do I get on the elliptical? So I'm keeping my blood pressure, or do I skip the elliptical? And so he was like, well, why don't you do something else? Because I try to walk too. Like I try to switch it up. But anyway, so it's old people that's about to be 50. Yeah.
But maybe-
you're in that situation.
But maybe if you go to NASA, where there's no gravity up in space, your
See?
hip wouldn't bother
It
you.
That
would
is
it?
true. You
I
don't have
really-
gravity pulling on them joints.
See?
So,
Yeah.
see?
Yeah.
That's not a bad
We
idea.
could get you signed up for
That's
that.
not a bad idea.
Yeah.
We went.
I don't think she could pass the background check personally. But I'm
Whatever.
Okay.
we won't
You
go
know
down
how
that
it
road too far, but yeah.
Okay. My sister and cousin and I, we do an NFL trip just about every year. It's like a tradition that we do. We went to Houston and went down and we went to the museum, kind of saw we didn't get to do a lot of it because we were in a hurry, but it was really cool just to see, some of the things that they had brought back,
Oh, yes.
some of the space rockets and, just some of those things and how they're inside these little, it was just really, it was a neat experience.
Did y'all get to do the rocket park?
No,
Oh
we
my
didn't get to
gosh.
do that.
Holy
and
moly.
we
Yeah.
were in a hurry, and
Yeah.
we were like, we didn't get to go. The tickets were full. We didn't have time to wait
Sure.
to go to the tram to do.
Yes, the tram.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Well,
we
the
hated
rocket
that.
park, I mean, you were standing by all of these massive just pieces, and the I guess you could just say the end piece of the rocket. I looked like an ant just standing there next
know.
to
It's
it.
just
I mean, it was
bizarre.
crazy.
Well, I think the closest I've ever got to anything is like one of the Smithsonian museums. Did you go on that trip to D.C.? Well,
No.
we went to the Space Museum, but the thing that was
that is cool. I've
impressive
been to that one. Yeah.
was you see all these spaceships and different things, space station on TV. You're thinking that's pretty decent size. It's not.
Oh no,
I don't know how in the world. I mean, you certainly couldn't be claustrophobic and
no.
and survive.
That's what I
those
thought.
things.
And some of them, I
Yeah.
was like, ooh. I mean, because you were
Oh,
just
you're like in it.
cramped in
Yes.
this.
Oh,
Ugh.
yeah.
Well, in these little capsules, and
Yes.
that was one of the things we got to see at this one place, where they were sewing the bags.
Right.
But it was capsules of where they were sitting, so you could be able to basically simulate as if you were going to space, and
Right.
there's not much movement in these
Right.
little capsules.
Right. Yeah.
But to see how they would journey up to their their bed area possibly, and
oh yeah.
I mean it was
Yeah.
a very tight
Yeah.
space,
Oh, yeah.
obviously, but to
Oh,
see it
yeah.
in person,
Yeah,
but-
you better be liking your fellow astronauts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, they mentioned that about how some of their training they have to do I think it was a 30-day. I could be wrong on that, but like a training where you basically have to live to each other and make sure you're going to be okay.
Yeah, but they're going to have to do
Compatibility.
some team
Yeah.
building
Yes,
and make
yeah.
sure everybody's going to.
And that was more so for the space station because obviously
Yeah.
they're up there for much longer.
Yeah, I can just tell you, I could not be up in a little space capsule with Darren for 30 days.
I started to say,
She's like, all right.
Katie
I-
said,
hey, I should have invoked the 30-day rule before I hired Candace. That's what I'm saying. If I had
Maybe.
if I had the receipt, I'd probably take you back. But I don't know
He's
what the
hired me
receipt's at.
twice. He's hired me twice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Fountain Lake and then.
And then
Yeah.
here, okay.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
She was the only one that applied. Don't tell
what it
anybody.
was. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but yeah.
But I will say though, one of the things I mentioned, getting to see all these other teachers and meet and work with them. I would say I'm overwhelmed now with so many resources coming from this
Right.
program.
That's
Yeah.
so
And
awesome.
having been, in fact, I posted, we have it's called Ladies of Liftoff, because actually this past year it was all women that ended
Oh,
up
yeah.
going. And normally
Yeah.
that's not the case.
Right.
So our Ladies of Liftoff Facebook group, I posted recently, I was like, how do you manage all of these resources coming at you? Because they're
Right.
all
Oh,
amazing.
sure.
I mean,
Sure.
and then stuff with Artemis coming out, fixing to do a moon mission and even working towards going towards Mars. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many things I want to do in the classroom, and I'm just,
Yeah.
where can I put it in?
but doesn't it make? I mean, it's really a neat experience. I've going through a couple of things with folks from different states and stuff, but just to get their perspective.
Oh, yeah.
And to know that really and truly they're facing some of the same things that you do, challenges, whatever the case might be. But just to get somebody else's perspective and you be able to contribute to the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, that was one of the things I enjoyed the most is we all were science teachers.
Sure.
With the exception of one music teacher. I mean, she was,
Oh, wow.
she came and represented.
Hey.
And but we all were science teachers, so it was really even cool to see a music teacher's perspective on how to bring science. But just to sit there and talk about things,
Oh, yeah.
that we all knew.
Oh, and you're like bring new ideas, and you give ideas, and it's just the networking. So that's cool. You'll have those relationships.
Absolutely,
forever.
yes. In fact, I got a teacher Valentine from one of them the other day, and I'm like, hey, I hadn't talked to you in months. Hey,
That's so
just kind of
cool.
keeping up.
Right.
But
That's neat.
So what was the highlight for you? I mean, I know there was probably tons of things going on, but if you had to zero in on one thing.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. I think the one highlight would be just being in the being in that group of women.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that is the one highlight because let me just tell you, I mean, this was my binder. I mean, you can just see it was just filled. Well, I guess it got a little damp, but it was just filled with just so much rich resources. But the highlight was being surrounded by such impressive teachers, and we could bounce off of one another.
And being immersed in that for a week, I guess. I mean, even probably some of the downtime, you guys got to share experiences and.
Yeah, for sure. Just kind of talk things out. I mean, you go from touching the moon to getting to see where the moon rocks come to meeting Fred Hayes and having lunch with him.
That's
right.
And then getting to meet this one engineer who was just so impressive. And then getting to see there's an institute called the Limitless Institute and how they're trying to develop all of these powers to be able, and I say powers more from an engineering perspective, to go to the planets and beyond within a shorter period of time. And I mean, like the level of education was at times a little intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
But remember this.
Yes.
Even the smartest engineer had to go through a teacher at some point.
That's true.
Yeah,
So,
I like
true.
that.
You know, that's absolutely true. But going down there, that's in Huntsville, right? Alabama?
No, sir.
Oh,
We went to the one in Houston,
Oh,
Texas.
you went to Houston.
Yeah.
Okay. I got
Yes.
you. So
Now, there is a NASA station in Huntsville, yes.
Right. So, I know there's a space camp that a lot of the kids
Yes.
get to go to.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's something else I think, from your perspective now, I mean, if you have a kid interested, you've got a lot to offer, right?
Absolutely, yes. And Poyen actually has the advantage of, we actually have a retired NASA engineer
Oh, wow.
that is from Poyen.
Okay.
And he actually still comes and speaks to the school, and he's going to be doing a speech with us about the eclipse coming up on April the 8th.
Oh, wow.
But
Yeah.
he worked out of Huntsville mostly.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Gotcha.
And so he's
Gotcha.
helped kind of guide a few kids towards the space camp out
Good.
there, and
Well,
we've
good.
got a couple interested
Cool.
this year.
Well, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
That is so neat.
Yeah, it's Mr. Ralph Caruth. Yeah,
That is
he's
awesome.
pretty awesome.
So, been able to bring this stuff back and integrate it into your classroom?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm gearing up, and what I did was I kind of made all of my units going to be surrounding the solar eclipse coming up.
Oh, yeah.
That have to deal with space systems exploration. So really, like I've talked about it at the beginning, and anytime I can bring in like rock samples, we
Right.
talk about the moon, but I'm gearing up for some real fun in the month of April for
Right.
sure.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be great. Got
So,
the
as
clips.
far as the eclipse, where does Poyen fit in on the, where it's going to swoop and be
Yeah.
able to read?
I mean, truth be told, I've seen several projections, but we should be right in the line or right on the edge either
Right.
way.
Yeah.
But we're looking at, a 2.5 to 3.5 minute of complete blackness. And for us being at Poyen, we're out of school on Mondays anyways.
Right.
So we're doing a lot of stuff beforehand
Awesome.
to kind of
Yeah.
get the kids excited for it.
That'd
Yeah.
be cool. Yeah.
Well, in STEM Coalition, they're going to provide glasses.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Oh, and that
So-
reminds me. Yeah, because is that what the PD is on Monday? Because I'm going to that too. There's one at Dawson Monday.
I can't remember. I can't remember if it's the same thing.
You're
There
only
is.
in charge of all things PD.
I know, but
See what I'm saying about that 30-day warranty I should have? But go ahead.
I forget.
I'll be at Dawson Monday.
Is Susan? Is Susan?
It is okay.
I was going to say Susan may be
Yes.
doing that PD,
Yeah.
so it has something to do with it. But the STEM Coalition, I think they're supposed to get glasses delivered to all the
They
co-ops
are.
in the state by like March 14th, and then
Right.
co-ops are going to
Oh,
get
good.
it delivered to the districts.
Right.
So
Yeah.
We're ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exciting times. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I live in the Jesseville area. That's supposed to be like prime spots. And,
Oh,
but,
yes.
But, I mean, all over Hot Springs, they're saying traffic's going to be shut
Yes.
down, that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, it'll be one of those, you know, moments in history, I think, that we all get to live through. So I'm
Be
just
cool.
interested
Sure.
to see how that's going to roll out. So,
I am too. I can remember I took some kids on a field trip last May over to dig for crystals over in that area. And I can remember they were already giving out information for preparing for this year,
Right.
you know, for campsites and how like
Yeah.
things were going to be kind of shut down or you had to.
everything's
Oh,
just
yeah.
full.
Wow, yes, yeah.
Yeah. So what got you interested in science as far as selecting that as the area you wanted to teach? How did that come about?
Well, I always had a strong interest in science growing up. And actually, my former principal and my softball coach were my science teachers.
Oh.
And I loved science. But, you know, skip forward, you know, we'll just say several years, skip forward several years. And when I looked at what do I enjoy most, and I love being outdoors.
Right.
And I love gardening. I love planting. I love all things animals. We do a
Right.
lot of dissections in my classes.
Right.
And we're actually getting ready to hatch chickens here
Oh,
in the
wow.
coming weeks. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
stuff like that. But when I got down to it, and I'll never forget Mr. Newton, he was one of the ones that asked me, he was like, you know, why is it you want to teach? And I said, I really want to be a part of their journey.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
I'm not looking to make a big, you know,
Right.
necessarily. I want to make an impact, but just to be a blessing as part of their journey. And it all comes back to the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
does.
absolutely.
It does.
I just so enjoy teaching these kids.
I can tell.
I do.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I range, let's see, this year I've got 8th through 12th grade. So it's a whole variety of different kids
Yeah.
and personalities.
Right.
But yeah.
You get
So,
attached to them.
Yes, of course.
what position did you play in softball?
Oh, second base.
Oh, yeah.
This is, yeah. That was my
yeah.
spot.
Yeah. Hey, you got to be on your toes there. at second.
Yes, yeah. Oh my gosh, I loved softball.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I think that's what's kind of neat too about these smaller towns too is, you know, the importance that, you know, athletics play in rounding these kids out and giving some of these kids opportunities again. Probably they wouldn't necessarily have as much of an opportunity at some of the larger schools.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And obviously a huge support of our athletic department here.
Right.
And I'm adding different ways, like, you know, these kids trying to apply for NASA, you know,
Right.
things of
Sure.
that nature.
Oh, yeah.
We're taking a group of 20 in a couple of weeks to OBU to work on their bioinformatics, where it's called
Right.
the Gene
Yeah.
Hackathon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is I actually have one of my former biology kids going to be working it.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know, trying to provide science opportunities that
Yeah.
maybe they wouldn't necessarily go for.
Yeah, and I
Right.
think like the cool thing about you, you know, willing to apply and kind of put yourself out there with the video and that kind of stuff. but the exposure piece is so important, you know, to folks, you know, again in the smaller schools because a lot of them, number one, as far as exposure, don't know that it's out there,
Yes, sir.
and number two, think it's unattainable. you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so with you being able to do that and show them, hey, look, it's absolutely attainable. I
Absolutely.
think that's incredible.
And that's what I love field trips. I do. Because it gets the kids out of Grant County
Sure.
to see
Yeah,
what
'cause
there is. And
Some that would never get that
Never,
experience
yes.
ever.
like I took a group of girls, it's been a few years ago, to UCA for a girl STEM day.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, their eyes were just like, oh my gosh,
Right.
this is
Yeah.
the best thing ever. I mean, and I love Conway, but I'm like, to me, it's like, this is Conway, you know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like
They never
to
get
get them
to go.
there to UCA, I mean,
Yes.
yeah. So,
Oh,
and that's why I do the OBU stuff.
Yes,
Anytime OBU
that's-
has something.
That's awesome.
It's incredible. Well, now it's time to have a little bit of fun. We just kind of
Oh.
throw questions at you. So,
Oh,
She's like,
dear.
oh, great.
The-
Here we go.
We're done, right? We're
yeah.
done.
Well, the thing that's most important to me, I guess, would be talk to us maybe about any kind of Justin Moore sighting. you
Oh
may-
my gosh.
May or may not have had here. You know.
Okay, well, first off, you have to know I'm very guarded with Justin because he is seriously like my brother.
Yeah.
Aw.
And so I don't usually
Sure.
talk a lot about
Right,
him.
right.
But
That's awesome.
I grew up with Justin.
Yeah.
I mean, our parents are obviously super,
Right.
super close, and his parents were actually my godparents.
Gotcha.
Oh.
Okay.
And so we've just kept that.
Yeah, right.
It's myself, my sister, and him.
Yeah.
Right.
We've just remained close, but we see him all the time. In fact, the other day he was coaching because one of his daughters and my daughters are the same age.
Yeah.
And he was coaching basketball practice, and I looked at his wife, Kate, and I go, "Who's the old man out there?" I mean, trying to run and keep
Right.
up with these girls.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I mean, he's around, and he just fits right in and
Well, I
visits
think that's
and helps.
the cool thing
Yeah.
about him is, the fact that he is so involved in his kids' lives. I mean,
Oh, yes.
coaching softball, basketball, and
Yeah.
the mere fact, that although he's had tremendous success, the fact that he wanted, I mean, that speaks to me volumes about Poyen in this area, just wanting to come back home.
Yeah.
And make sure his kids get the experience that he did here.
Absolutely.
Because,
I mean, it's nothing to see, his kids
Right.
running around. In fact, I got to teach one of his daughters this year,
Right.
and it was just so fun because knowing how he was growing up, and then knowing his wife now. It's just fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, before education, that's what I did, was radio and country. But,
Oh, yeah.
But that's the thing about a lot of those people are so down to earth.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And they, I guess being raised in that fabric of the community is such a big part of what they
Well,
do.
sure. Well, Uncle Tom Ray and Aunt Charlene, his parents,
Right.
I mean, they've made sure that he kept grounded,
yeah.
and I mean,
Yeah.
he was super involved in everything. I mean, we grew up church, sporting events. I mean, that's what you did.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he and I went out to eat one night. This was right after he got out of high school, and I was already in college. He went to college, I think, one day.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he's like, "Autumn, I'm not going back." And I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, you've been like not even a week." And he's like, "I got to go to Nashville." Of course, I mean, we all knew,
Oh,
but
yeah. Well, and we had that conversation coming over today. Is I had a conversation with the administrator last week, and he was just down. Kind of, we were a brainstorming session, if you will. But one of the things that he said, that probably the thing that is most important in the position that he is in is giving kids hope, whether that's college, career path, whatever the case might be. And there's so much truth in that.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know what's crazy? So, like, my word of the year is hope.
okay, good.
My
Yeah.
word. And in all things, I will have hope. That is my
Right.
Bible
Yeah.
verse for this year.
Sure.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty awesome that
Yeah.
you just mentioned
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
So cool.
And I thought, a lot of times we get caught up in, just specific, direction for a kid, whether it be college or career.
Yeah.
But for him to say, to give them hope, I think that's exactly, what we should be doing. Because, we talk about, we're talking on the way up here, just, every kid's different. Every kid's got a path. And once they figure that out or figure out their why,
Yeah.
I was exercising the other day watching a repeat of a Lou Holtz interview, and he's so true. He said that two most important days in your life is the day you're born,
Okay.
and the day you figure out why you were born. And I thought there's and it's up to educators, I feel like, to help kids discover that why you were born kind of thing.
And educators, I mean, you can impact kids. That's the conversation we were having is, sometimes you have kids that they hate school, and it's like, if they're capable, if they're senior year, whatever, get them out, get them their GED, let's get them in their, whether they're what career path that they want to go to. If that's college, if it isn't, but help them.
Just help them.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what we talk about, teaching me and calling. So I know that you probably, it's just like, hey, I've really, you probably know this is what I'm supposed to do.
Oh,
Supposed to
absolutely.
teach. So
and like you were saying earlier, I mean, it's career too for me, but and not to say that career teachers don't do a great job, but I think it felt like it meant a little bit more to me when I dove in there, because with radio, I got to go I was on school campuses a lot, Red Ribbon Week, career
Oh,
days,
yes.
that kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
stuff, and that was God really pulling me in and saying, okay, you've had fun, now it's my turn.
Yes,
So,
yeah. Well, that's what my degree is actually in business administration with the emphasis
Gotcha.
in marketing.
Uh-huh.
And as part of that, I did a lot of event planning and sales and things like that. And so I loved that part of that job. But now that I'm a teacher, because I realized I wasn't fulfilled in that position. I loved it, but I wasn't fulfilled.
Yeah.
Right.
And like kind of what you said, like God was like, okay.
Yeah.
And every door has been open to allow me to be where I'm at
Oh,
now.
yeah.
And so I take all that event planning fun and put it in the classroom. So like for the, the solar eclipse coming up. Ooh, girl, we're going to do some big stuff.
Yeah.
Just
That's
like
awesome.
event planning.
Yeah.
And like I do what's called Botany Day, where kids come and we celebrate like different botanists that they've researched. But it's knowing those little things that just make a difference to them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I had a student just last week. He's a senior, and I've taught him for a couple years now, and because he moved in, and he came in the other day and just had this look on his face. I was like, "All right, hon, what's going on? What's going on?" He's like, I need help figuring out my life after high school. And I'm thinking, oh, sweet Lord, that's a big thing. And I said, okay, sit down. I said, let me get my class started and then we'll chat.
Right.
But that was it.
Yeah.
In that moment, he was like, oh, gosh, I need help.
Yeah.
I need help.
Oh,
And
yeah.
It's so much about the relationships and just
Yeah.
not all. The content is important, yes. But
Yes.
they're not going to remember a lot of that. They're
No.
going to remember you
No.
helping
And-
them figure out their life plan.
And I have one rule for my classroom, and everything falls under it. And my one rule is manners. Like, you have to have manners in my classroom.
Could she
Do I need to like teach her a little?
She sit in for about a week or two at least.
But the kids remember those kind of
Right.
things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And because I'm constantly telling them, be kind, be kind,
kind.
be kind.
That was our
And-
word last year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was be kind.
I told Darren he needed to make that his word 2 years in a row.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I didn't
Katie
listen.
said-
What's your word this year?
What is my word this year? I'm perspective.
Mine-
Mine is
Perspective.
perspective.
Mine's
Okay.
joy.
Yeah.
Oh, I like joy.
Yeah, perspective. And what I mean by that is taking the time to see other people's perspective and actively listen versus just hearing something.
Because Lord knows we
So-
get all kinds of input from all
Oh, yeah.
different perspectives.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
From
So,
kids.
For
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yes.
So let's you've been teaching long enough now. You've had an embarrassing moment that you'd like to share with us, right?
Oh, I'm sure I've had a lot, but I just roll with it.
Yeah.
And
Anything come to mind that kind of sticks out there?
oh my gosh, there's been many. But I will say this though, I'm a pretty chill teacher in the
Right.
sense
Oh,
of, if I,
Yeah.
bend over and fall down on something, it's like,
Yeah.
what?
Laugh
Get
at
up,
me.
go. You get up and go. And
Yeah.
or if I have something on my face,
Right.
be like, I knew that. I was just
Yeah.
seeing if you,
Yeah.
just kind of like that.
Exactly.
But embarrassing. I mean, listen, I have made a fool of myself since day one
yeah.
being a teacher.
Kids love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean,
We have to.
the ridiculous outfits I wear at school,
Yeah.
the ridiculous holidays I celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will never
awesome.
forget through Project Prevent, we did a focus on Project Prevent ran through Arkansas Children's Hospital, where we do a big thing. It's kind of like the new Red Ribbon,
Gotcha.
focus,
Yeah,
drugs,
right,
vaping,
right.
things of that nature. And I will never forget, I had a kid dress up as a skunk. Like, I actually ordered a skunk, and we
Yeah.
walked around as a skunk, and because it was like smoking stinks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so we went to the
Right.
thing with a skunk.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but no, it's gotten to the point 8 years now. When I walk in with one of my get-ups on, no
Right.
one even thinks anything about it
Yeah.
anymore.
They're like,
Right.
It's just Miss Henry. What?
yeah.
The thing is, what day are you celebrating today?
Yeah.
So outside the obvious, Justin Moore on your playlist, what else is on your playlist when you're coming to work?
Sure. I love Lauren Daigle.
Yeah.
Woo,
yeah.
love my
yeah.
girl Lauren
good.
Daigle.
Yeah.
Anything by Maverick City. I love
Yep,
Maverick
yep,
City.
Yep.
And I mean, you got the Carrie Jobs, the Chris
Oh, yeah.
Tomlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more of a a Christian track kind of thing to get my day going.
Yeah.
But if I have to go some old school 90s, bring out the Usher, let me tell you, that Super Bowl performance, I was all about it.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
But
all the young kids in the room,
Yes.
they were like, "Y'all are so embarrassing."
Oh yeah, girl,
So
just
funny.
roll with it.
yeah.
Just, hey, I told my daughter, having an embarrassing mom builds character, so
Oh, that's
roll
right.
with it.
That's,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I said.
Yeah, I was listening to, I guess it was Bobby Bone Show, another Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas Mountain Pine, yeah.
But they were talking about all the slang that their kids use.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
think somebody on the show, the
Yeah.
perspective was great. She said, it was Amy. But anyway, she said, well, you know what I do? She said, I just start using it to the point where it embarrasses them.
Oh, totally.
And then they just stop using it because all of a sudden it's not cool when mom does it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, the new one is Riz.
Oh, yeah.
Or W Riz.
Yeah.
The other day I had a kid and they're like, Miss Henry, don't ever say that again. I'm like, listen, I'm just trying to understand what
yeah.
you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
All that good
Yeah.
I was on duty at Fountain Lake High School. I was assistant principal there.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the kids said something about, I'm not going to tell you the word, but
Oh, yeah.
they said, Miss Bennett, do you know what is? And I'm like, no, but do I need to look that up on Urban Dictionary? And they went, no, please don't look it up. Please don't look it up.
Yes.
Of course, Donald
Yeah.
Western and I
Oh, yeah.
looked it up, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, it was hilarious."
Oh yeah,
So-
I did. I will say though, again, I wasn't really embarrassed, but I looked up something the other day and said it out loud, and I was like, "Oh sweet Lord, really?"
Oh,
Of course, the students are just laughing. But
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'd like to think I don't get embarrassed too easy because I just kind of roll with it.
that's how I am.
Yeah, you talk about old school stuff, 90s, I'm thinking that's not old school.
Yeah.
Well,
That's-
if we're really going old school, I like some Journey.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Okay,
you're going to go
okay.
back,
There we go,
I
there
love
we
me
go.
some Journey.
Well, I'm a big Van Halen fan, and I was listening to an interview with him the other day, and this makes me feel old. He's 76 years old. Sammy Hagar is 76 years old.
Wow.
Good Lord.
That's my dad's age.
Yeah, can you believe that?
No.
And he's going out on tour again. So
I
but,
mean,
yeah, I
he
was
thinks
like,
he's
wow.
a spring chicken, I guess. Just let him roll, I guess.
I guess.
Okay.
That's a hard life. So, but yeah.
But yes, I of course listen to Justin. Yeah. Although I will have to say, I sometimes have to censor some of them because my daughter starts talking about drinking whiskey, and I'm just like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, Addie, like, come on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But it is what it is. I mean, yeah,
That's
it's
funny.
Yeah. So 5 years from now, where do you see yourself?
I see myself here still. My work is not done here,
Right.
And at that point, I hope to have had already developed an incredibly stronger robotics program.
Right.
I'm a huge fan of Vex IQ,
Yeah.
and so that for sure. And
Yeah.
then let's see here, in 5 years, I'm trying to think because, like I said, I have my own kids coming up through
Sure.
the Poyen
Oh,
School system,
Yeah.
and let's see, I will probably be. About to lose it because I'm gonna have my own kids up here.
You're gonna have teenagers.
Yeah.
But no,
But-
definitely here. But I do want to also throw out too, kind of not school related. In 5 years, I hope. There's my word. I hope we actually are in the process of establishing a nonprofit.
Oh, awesome.
My husband and I,
Yeah.
and it's called Hooves and Hope,
Okay.
and where we're going to focus on equestrian therapy.
Yeah.
And in doing so,
Wow.
my plan, one of the avenues is helping kids here, because obviously I see so many kids that
Yes.
need hope and they
Wow.
need different avenues to
Yeah.
reach out to.
That's so awesome.
And then too, and it just kind of hit me the other day with a new legislative saying that all kids have to have so many volunteer hours,
Sure.
being an avenue, but also a safe avenue for
Right.
kids to
Yeah.
come.
Right.
So in 5 years, I hope that is progressively intertwined in our school
Yeah.
system.
Wow.
Well,
That's amazing.
Let's talk about that equestrian therapy. So what is that? In layman's terms.
Sure. You are working alongside a horse.
Right.
And it could be everything from a student with special needs to a student who has self-control issues and just
Right.
learns to just stay in there. Just
Right.
learns to stay in there.
Right.
My husband being an Army veteran, we're going to eventually be working with military veterans.
That's awesome.
Just to kind of help come over some trauma. But
Yeah.
the working alongside horses
Yeah.
in general is a very calming way to calm yourself.
So I take it
Right.
you guys have horses.
We're in the process, yes, sir.
Okay.
I grew up barrel racing and riding
Oh, wow.
horses,
Okay.
so yeah.
Oh wow,
So now it's just
Awesome.
hey, it's a God moment.
that's
you know.
impressive. Barrel racing.
Yeah.
Listen, I didn't say I was good. I said I would try.
It's impressive that you did it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in 5 years, still here, Vex Robotics strong,
Yeah,
but
okay.
also having a strong connection with our nonprofit.
Wow.
Yeah, being on the other side of the kid thing, our son will be 25
Okay.
April, but you know it's kind of a neat deal being in you know watching your kids grow up, but more so on the academic side. You know it's really cool. You know, son graduated from Fountain Lake. He and his wife. Both are engineers, but proud dad moment yesterday. He shot me a copy of his first patent. You know, he designed something, but I mean, it's not like he's, you know, it was anything super incredible, but it was, you know, he works for Marshalltown Tools, which they design. Mainly, they started out doing like concrete type stuff.
Okay.
But anyway, they'll see something that a competitor has. One of the challenges is, hey, we need something like that or better than. And it was something
That's
for
pretty
like
cool.
a paint
Yeah.
can that goes in with a roller on top and all that stuff. And again, I say, you know, but we happen to have a painter on our Dawson campus yesterday, and I was talking to him. He goes, well, let me see that thing. He goes, oh my gosh. He said that would be a world changer once they get that in production, because his comes out, the current one he says is in the can, and
Okay.
it says so you have to go about halfway down before it works and all that stuff. So I was like, well, okay. There you go.
Okay. Hey.
But my point is, bottom line, small schools make a big difference.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Yeah.
and of course, you know, I'm a small school graduate cutter, so you know, again, really appreciate, you know, like Candace was alluding to earlier, the relationships, and you know, I still think about it. We all have that one or two teachers that we can put our finger on. It's, man, they made such a difference in my life. So.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I had mentioned Miss Newton earlier, but Dennis Emerson was my science teacher, my softball coach, and then later a principal that I worked
Right.
with.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Lisenby was also my science
Yeah.
teacher.
That's
And he actually works with the state board
Yeah.
for educators. But anywho, yeah.
That's cool.
Just
it-
those
You
teachers. I
remember.
mean, you
Yeah.
remember. Yeah, you remember.
Well, and I think it's important for a couple things. I mean, learning, I mean, is you know, it's got its obviously its purpose of educating folks, but it also needs to be fun along the way. And there's no doubt I can tell
Yeah.
with your personality
Oh, for sure.
that you know, I'm sure the kids love coming to your class.
I like to think so. I think.
Yeah.
You're like, they don't have a choice. They're coming.
Yes. Yeah. If you could see my classroom, I mean, you would
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's pretty great.
Well, and that's the thing. I think a teacher's classroom says a lot about their personality. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. I'm here 4 days a week.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, for multiple periods
Oh,
of
yeah.
time.
Right,
So yeah.
Yeah.
right, yeah. So how long are y'all's classes with the 4-day schedule?
We start at 7:40 and we end at 3:59.
Yes.
So so Tuesday through Friday.
Yeah, and how long was each individual class? I mean,
Roughly 60 minutes. We do
Oh,
have
wow.
one that's 70 minutes.
yeah.
That's nice.
But honestly, as a science teacher,
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, yeah. 'Cause
I mean,
you're doing
'cause
labs and trying
labs,
to clean up.
yes,
and,
yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a huge shift, I would say, since we started this last year.
Mm.
Like, it's not as rushed, it's not
Right.
as hurried, and I get
Yeah.
to kind of take my time with
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
more
Well,
explaining.
yeah, and,
That's cool.
and I would think with something like robotics, that's
Oh, my gosh,
it's a
yeah.
must.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when you know traditional classroom, you're just getting the stuff out.
Yes.
And it's time to there's the bell. Got to
Yeah,
kind of thing.
ready to go.
Yep. Speaking of
Okay.
bells.
All right. Well, if you had one piece of advice for, you know, folks that are thinking about getting into the education profession, what would that be?
My one piece of advice is never underestimate the power of your connection with your students.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
For sure.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
That is awesome.
That could
Yeah.
definitely make a difference.
Yes, for sure.
Candace, what'd you learn today?
Oh, I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about NASA.
Yeah. It's
Learn-
not. It,
Notice I
it
wear my
has-
NASA shirt.
I know. I
and
love your
represent-
earrings.
Oh, yeah,
They're
astronauts.
adorable astronaut
Hey,
earrings.
it has nothing to do with NASCAR, right?
That's right.
Okay,
We did
so-
learn that.
Yeah,
Even
that's
though
good.
I did not say that.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, well, Autumn, we appreciate you taking
Yes,
the time to
it
visit
has
with
been
us.
a blessing.
Absolutely.
It
It's
Thank
been
really
a
has.
blessing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, keep up the great work.
Yes.
Keep inspiring the next generation because we're getting close to retiring.
Yes.
Okay.
We need that
More.
Social Security, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
We do.
Sure.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode
Good
of
deal.
Spilling
Great
the
job.
Tea in Studio D.
Thank you.